following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
On this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr., we welcome PBA Hall of Famer and PBA 50 superstar Chris Barnes to the show. We'll be taking a deep dive into Chris's career, how he got into bowling, how he got into podcasting, and the recent success of his son Ryan, and much, much more. We'll also be announcing the winners of the pre-order contest to win Johnny Petraglia Sr. signed items for buying our show's t-shirt in our pre-order campaign, and the winner of the raffle for the Storm bowling ball bag. All that and much, much more. Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. starts now.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop.
Hey y'all, Jacob Ledrup here.
Jeff Riggles here from 11thframe.com.
Hey guys, Chuck Ritchie here, formerly of Bowl TV.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Schaefer of track staff at Valley Bowling Center in Waverly, New York.
And you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Yo, the boys from Straight Up 5, Rad Rob, Dr. Ocho, and of course JP Jr.
Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation.
Strike, and they claim it. Similarly does it.
So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob Francois. Rad Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. I'm your host, Rad Rob Francois. This is episode 128, and we have a very special guest on with us tonight. But before we get to that, I must introduce my first co-host. He is the man with he's literally the only man in the bowling podcast world that wears a mask. He has the largest arms on this show. For now, Johnny's catching up to him. He is the resident doctor. He really, literally is a doctor, even though he looks like a moron in a mask. He's the resident doctor of Straight Up 5, the one and only Dr. Ocho. Good evening, sir. Looking
Jacked as always. It's fine. You could say it.
Yeah.
Understandable.
What's going on, man?
I don't like to start off serious stuff. I'm usually kind of the jokester, even though I'm quite talented. I'm wicked smart.
Oh, no, get out of here. You're straight-laced.
No, but I mean, has there been any word on where your neck is, Rob? Have they found it? Have they located? Or they got the I Find My Neck app? You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like we're getting close. Happy birthday, Nicole.
You're such a dick. But I wouldn't expect anything less because that's just who you are.
What mask are you talking about? I have no idea.
We do this every week.
What mask?
Why?
Look, Disco Inferno still says I wear a mask. No clue. No clue what he's talking about. All right, bring him in. Let's go. Come on. Until we find your neck, we got to keep moving. Let's go.
Let's introduce you to my second co-host. He's the man with the name on the marquee. He is number 7 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, the sexiest man in the world, Johnny Petraglia Jr. What's going on, JP? Oh, and we have our sweet puppy here as well.
Yeah, I don't know what she's looking at, but she's really, really involved with something that's happening behind me right now.
Probably the idiot in the mask. Oh, no, she's looking the other way. Sorry.
It could be. Now she's going to get it. I'm sure you'll get to see her face. At least let them see her face for a minute.
Hi, Evelyn. Hey, Evelyn.
All right. Guys, always a pleasure, and thanks for everybody tuning in on this special Thursday. Rob, how was the concert, by the way?
Dude, I was actually surprised at how good Loverboy was. They opened for Sammy, and dude, they belted out, man. Working for the weekend, loving every minute of it.
Okay.
It's about 5 songs. That's all they play. It's the only.
Did they have the Chippendales thing with Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley in the background when they played that song? Because that would have just been freaking mind-blowing to me.
They didn't.
That would have been fabulous.
But Sammy Hagar, dude, for 77 years old, is amazing. The fact that he can still sing and dance and jump around on stage like he does. Joe Satriani was amazing. Jason Bottom,
he's one of the best guitarists ever, dude. So underrated, man.
Jason Bottom couldn't be there. He had a family emergency, but they had a great fill-in session drummer. And, of course, Michael Anthony is just stupid good. Like,
absolutely.
Was he drinking Jack still or what? I'm way out of the loop.
Actually, no, they were drinking tequila last night.
The Mas Tequila thing. Did they play Only One Way to Rock? Because that's literally my favorite Hagar song. That's so badass. That's such a dude. You're in a bad mood or you're lethargic. You just put that tune on and your heart will freaking start racing. That's medically speaking.
Absolutely. For me, it's I Can't Drive 55. That's the one.
It's the second one. No, I got them both on my
nuts when they played that. Yeah, no, it was good stuff. They played.
Ironically, Ocho and I are actually attending a Queen tribute band concert tomorrow night at the world famous Stone Pony.
Oh, no kidding! That's awesome.
Yeah,
I've been to Stone Pony.
You betcha.
Looking
I'm
forward.
singing actually. I'm the lead singer, so that's I'm a little more than attending, but it's a hobby of mine. What can Ocho do?
One I just kind of like really sometimes wish I was 10 years older so I could have gotten to see Queen, just once with Freddie Mercury, but is what it is. Real quick, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. First off, thank you to everybody for your pre-orders during the pre-order sale over the past month and a half. It was a huge success. We were able to get to our number. We are extending it through the end of this show because we're going to make the announcement courtesy of a random number generator based off the entries of who receives the prize package for the bowling ball of their choice from the Brands of Brunswick, as well as the signed autograph card and bowling pin from my dad, Johnny Petraglia. In addition to that, we are also having our bag raffle for the Storm Triple Roller you see over my shoulder here. My right, your left, or vice versa. I actually don't even know how that works. Don't care. Either way, your entries are you can still get your entries in via Venmo for that. You can also scan the QR code that is on the page to go ahead. And again, that's for the bag raffle. Again, the pre-order sale for the Straight Up 5 merchandise official first t-shirt launch will be announced tonight, as well as the bag winner. So good luck to everybody. First off, thanks to everybody who's gotten their raffle entries in. Again, it's $20 for 2 entries into the pot for this beauty. That includes free shipping wherever you are, anywhere in the world, as a matter of fact. So thank you to everybody who has purchased the raffle tickets for the bag. And again, you have until the end of this show when we will give you a 5-minute notice before we're going to close all entries and make our announcements and then connect to those people directly.
When you hear this sound, it'll be time.
Exactly. Perfect. So that was the extent of what I wanted to say about that. And I am absolutely honored and thrilled with the guests that we have tonight. I have so many questions. I don't want to rob too much of his time or your guys' questions, but let's get to it, Rob, unless you got something else.
I do not, but as we customarily do on this show, anytime we have a new guest, we play an amazing highlight video put together by myself. So that is exactly what
we'll see you guys in 35 minutes. Here we go.
I mean, he's 119,
especially with this guy. So it's not like you probably have a 2-hour clip because the guy.
Here's the thing, man. I love the highlight reels. The highlight reels is a walk down memory lane.
And it's a blood pumper too, man. That's the other thing. It gets the guests fired. But
how many times have the guests watched their intro and be like,
and they come in hot?
Yeah, no,
I don't even remember that, or I do now, but I forgot it. It's awesome. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Here is a highlight reel from the one and only Mr. Chris Barnes.
Throwing air ball on this shot. There's your winner, Chris Barnes.
Absolutely, he's been clutch forever, and I assumed that he would strike out there in the 10th and beat me once I gave him the opening.
All right, Marshall, Chris Barnes, the new breed. So for Marshall Holman, I'm Gary Seibel saying so long from Portland, Oregon.
He looks like he could use some oxygen right now. Just watching Mike fill it on up.
For Barnes, takes the title today in Texas. Chris Barnes, as you see the twins there with Linda, Ryan on the left, and what's the other little guy's name?
Linda's got Troy.
Troy.
Yeah, it was a sad week for all of us with big whoever's passing, but maybe some small part of this, or a large part of this, is due to him.
First ever major and sixth career PBA title.
It's nothing more fun than bowling for your friends and family.
Chris told us yesterday to get a victory was so important to start piling up the titles, to really point your career in the right direction. How would you best describe this period?
Well, it's euphoric anytime you win, and if finishing second that many times is anything, it makes you appreciate these days a whole lot more. And you try and hang on to it for as long as you can, and what better environment to enjoy it than in front of all your friends.
Chris Barnes, a tremendous performance. There the Twins get the Handler Trophy with Dad's help.
He's now won a title in 7 consecutive seasons. Time to the 8th streak with Wayne Webb. Crowd on their feet. What a wonderful, wonderful title this was.
Absolutely unbelievable. Coco Butter looking after me this week, I guess, huh? That Wayne turned up so much to me. No, I had to get away.
Last time he won was last year around this time in Columbus. He's got the title and the pants to hand off to Mika. 258, 172, your final. So 722 to 693. Okay, my math is wrong. 29-pin win. That's what I meant for Chris Barnes. Major number 3. He's become the 6th bowler to win PBA's Triple Crown, and now he can raise the crystal on the right day.
That's sounding good. Triple Crown.
Autograph copy. To a great football player from a great bowler. Chris Barnes, another title. Like Norm Duke, one day he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Terrell loves it.
Like the future Hall of Famer that he
is. 16 titles. Further solidifying a Hall of Fame career with the PBA.
Japan is one of my favorite places to bowl, really anywhere in the world. The hosting, the atmosphere, generally speaking, is fantastic there, and it is one of the places that truly appreciates bowling.
What does it mean to you to win this event?
Well, for a lot of reasons, it's really special. Obviously, Jimbo Evans, his staff, his partners here at South Plains Lanes, and some of the best fans in bowling out here today sure make this a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, wait, where'd everybody go? There's Ocho. Hold on, let's get Johnny back in here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our very special guest, Mr. Chris Barnes. Good evening, Chris.
Not from a twin bed in a hotel or a full bed from a hotel room with Janowitz. He's in his own room He's doing his own thing. He's here live, large and in charge.
Yeah, it used to be my office. Then I went on both tours for 6 months. I came back and it became somebody's streaming venue. So, you know, I used to have a nice podcast mic that I could hook up to and some, you know, good camera. And now I don't know how to hook in any of the things he's got set up now. So, you know.
Technology moves fast, man, especially
It
in
does.
bowling balls.
And I'm telling you, I'm super impressed. You guys like your guests way more than Beef Stew and I like ours, I guess. We don't do any of that.
Well, you guys are the stars anyway. We're the marks here, basically.
Yeah,
so
we're the hacks.
100%. We are the hacks. So it's an absolute honor to have you guys here, especially you, Chris. So thank you for actually joining us tonight. This is absolutely awesome. Rob, you want to take it away, or you want me to take it away? What do you
It's your show, Bunny. You start us off.
Be unfettered, damn it. Let's go.
I'm gonna. I was actually thinking. I'm more into the mental aspect of the game than I am the physical, the technology, the bowling balls. And what's always gotten me, I was actually thinking about this in the car over the last few days, figuring out what I wanted to open with. So I figured, why not ask the thing that was on my brain the most, which is this, Chris. So from what I've seen of you and everybody else has seen of you, you are not only an excellent individual bowler, you're an excellent team bowler. I mean, you're the epitome of what a Wichita State Shocker is made of. And watching you throughout the years, I started analyzing how good you were as a teammate, as a team player, how good you are in the PBA league, how good you are in long format tournaments, how good you are in formats like the Masters. My question is, do you mentally approach all of those specific kinds of events or tournament formats completely different mentally, or you kind of attack them all the same?
Some of the stuff, it's a great question, by the way, because it is a little different from event to event. When I'm going in something singles wise and what's going to happen and what my strategies need to be versus, you know, when we go into, say, PBA League or Team USA events, my role was different there at the end of that tenure to handle some of the stuff so that, you know, so Tommy could just be Tommy and be the greatness that he is. But handle some of the other nonsense and keep that stuff away and basically kind of just help develop some strategy. And then we just kind of played, you know, once we were basically committed to any one thing, we were going to be fine. Nice part, I got pretty spoiled because I got to bowl with a bunch of great players on Team USA. So whether I was really had all that much to do with it or not, I don't know. Because like I said, once we were on the same plan, it was probably going to turn out okay with that group. But a little bit different because I'm much harder on myself. I have a different demeanor in singles than I think I do in doubles or a team. And you kind of have to know who you're playing with. If I'm bowling doubles with JJ versus I'm bowling doubles with Tommy, that's two different types of conversations that you're having while you're doing those things. JJ doesn't like to see scores. That's not what he wants to do. He wants to be a little more calmer, a little more relaxed. Tommy doesn't mind embracing the moment and actually likes to play at a little higher intensity level. So, you know, we just run right to that level as fast as we can get to it.
It's interesting to me. So, like, let's say you're at a tournament like the Masters, you've bowled your 15 games of qualifying, and now you're in double elimination. The mindset there, I would think, is a little bit different than, say, a 42-game format with 18 games of qualifying and 24 match play with bonus pins. Is it dependent on the pair of lanes you're on? Are you trying to use the practice session to mold them to what you want to see 3 games down the road? Like, I guess what my question is, it's almost like I'm asking you to explain how you're so good at the short stints as well as the long durations and able to flip your brain enough to be able to say, okay, I'm in a 3-game battle right now. I don't have any room for mistakes. Like there is no bowling 9-pin no tap for 2 games, staying around even, and then going to the right ball and bowling 260 back to back. This is like I think I need 720 to beat this guy. So from the first shot you're making, you're automatically, I would assume, your foot's on the gas pedal. You may look mentally calm and stable, which I'm assuming you are, but that's what always got me is like, I've always preferred long format tournaments, and in short sprints, say even like a tap qualifier or the old high roller or the mini eliminators, those are always very difficult for me because I've never been a foot on the gas right out of the gate. What do you do? What is your prep for those two opposites, I guess, is my real main question there.
Yeah, longer formats, it's really about, like, I want to get control of what's going on and then dial in and get better and get better and get better as the week goes on in those long formats. The shorter formats, and especially when you're bowling on the fresh, really concentrating on what you can do right out of the gates. The senior tournaments are those best of threes, sprints. And so there's not a lot of strategy from a breaking the lane down part. It's like exactly what you're saying, JP, is you have to come out firing, and you need to be, your end goal is not so far away. So from where you start, so there's not a big long or best of sevens. You could have a strategy and go, I don't really have it for a game or two, but I can break them down to where they're being good for me. If it's a right-left match, and try and build something. That's one strategy. Like a Walter Ray would, you build it to the right, just make it as easy as possible.
Sure.
But most of the time in those longer format, the best of sevens is basically breaking down a spot that was going to make my opponent more uncomfortable. They didn't really care where I was going to play. I wasn't playing defense, but I was trying to, especially if I was the lower seed, it meant in qualifying they had the right look, and I didn't really have as good a look. So I was going to try and move the lane around to someplace where they had to think, not be able to do what they did, and already prove that they could beat me, and try and make them out of what made them comfortable to be there to begin with, and keep it as a thinking strategic match versus, hey, I'm just going to go numb here and just throw shot after shot after shot and beat this guy's brains in.
That's the first time we've heard an answer like that in our 120. Well, we haven't had guests every time, but have we never heard anybody say that they're kind of moving their target around to try and squirrel it up for the other guy? I mean, if that's the words you're using, but that's a great strategy. I mean, shit, especially if you're in control of what you're doing.
And especially if you're one of the
two. Robert Smith was the hardest guy for me to do that to, because he basically liked to roll hook it like I did, but he did it with 100 more RPMs.
Yeah.
So there was no trap in Robert, but it was a different strategy. Hey, we're just going to keep going left, and instead of building it, making it easier, we're just going to get way, way left, and then I would probably move back to the right.
When you say roll hook it, because we do have a lot of amateurs here, not me, of course not. You're talking staying behind the ball, like staying under it, having forward, and then having it tilt towards the end, basically, or
I mean, Walter Ray basically roll hooks it, and I did what he did with another 100 RPM.
Couple more revs, and then Robert Smith just rips the cover off the shit.
And EJ now does a version of that as well, where a lot of guys have more axis rotation, like Pete Weber, but lots of guys throw it, clear the lane, and get it way further down the lane first, and then hook it off the back end of the pattern, which makes perfect sense, because if you're under 35 years old, you've never bowled in a lane that wasn't basically fresh stripped every day.
Sure. Just to be going back to what you said in response to Chris's answer about figuring out.
I don't mean squirreling up the lanes, but him. Go ahead.
But I have to say this because this is what I'm automatically thinking in my brain. Like, think about it, dude. If your main objective in that format is to burn up the spot or screw up the spot that that your opponent's going to play, he's automatically subconsciously thinking, no matter where else the guy tries to play, I'm the better bowler. I hit what I'm looking at more often. And at that point, it doesn't matter where the shot is. I'll beat him at it if I take away what he had to beat me this week. That's like the badassness that I took.
That's what I'm saying, and that's like that's chess. That's literally chess. I mean, You're talking, people are just it's hard enough. People are trying to just hit the pocket, and now you're like, you're doing you're 4 steps ahead of the next guy.
But that only works if you're in best of 5 or longer. You have to have
sure
that kind of thing to happen.
You're not doing it on TV, obviously. You don't
have
to do that.
No, I mean, you can do some of that in your 8 or 10 minutes of practice, but not really. And, we're more volume now than we've used in the past. We have way less practice on the TV pair than in the past, And so those kind of things it's really about trying to figure out, okay, the show's going to be a little different than probably what you bowled on all week. That's just kind of how it works.
Sure.
And so just figuring out, okay, what's different about it, and then what can I do to shoot enough to win? And then depending on whether you're fourth or fifth, or whether you're second or first, how many games you got, where they're going to be at when that comes around.
Chris, how much did they shorten the practice prior to the TV show?
There's been 20 minutes total here as of now, but it's done in stages. So guys get like 8 minutes at a time. Basically, each bowler, the last version we tried, which I think will probably go forward, is like 1, 2, and 3 get 12 minutes on the pair. And then they're off, and then 4 and 5 will get the last 8 minutes and go bowl. Which 8 minutes when there's nobody else bowling is you can get a lot of shots in.
Yeah.
Was there a seed you particularly liked? Being the top seed, I'm sure everybody says, "Oh, he's only got to win one match," but then you gotta, be into it, already be ready, be focused. Of course, you're ready and focused, but sometimes they take a few rolls. You only got 12 when you're the number one seed. So
the thing took me a long time to really get. I was really slow on the take because I did a lot of different things to get to shows, and I didn't really dial into one thing or two things that I would just kind of default to on TV. And it cost me a lot of wins before I kind of figured out.
And then once you did it, you broke the floodgates open at least, but that's something I'm sure they'll talk about.
Yeah, by the time I really figured out how to do it, I wasn't making as many shows as I was before then. Walter figured out he went through a 4-year stretch where he didn't win, which is crazy. But you go back and look at the shows, and he's playing 17, he's playing 20, he's hooking it. He's doing these things, and he would have a shot somewhere that would get him in trouble. And over time, he figured out, hey, when I play to the right, my bad shot, it's the pocket and flat tens. It's not always the right place to play, but I don't ever give a game away. And so red ball up 5 kind of became the thing, the running joke, but
sure.
He put a floor on himself at 210, and then he just shot 250 a lot on those shows. Right. Norm basically did the same thing, had a whole bunch of ebbs and flows with winning and losing on TV, and then he just went, you know what, I'm bulletproof when I throw it straight. And he might play anywhere on the lane versus playing to the right, where Walter kind of dialed into. Norm might play 25 and throw it at the 3-pin, but he was going to throw it at the 3-pin.
Sure.
And he puts, 9 out of 10 are aces, and whether he strikes or not, but he shoots 220 a lot and stole so many games on TV where really he didn't have good enough ball reaction to beat you, but he could make you show up.
Ain't that something?
I spent way too much time trying to dial into a feel or a touch or whatever. And so the top seed was super hard for me because you have all this adrenaline, and touch and feel and adrenaline that's a bad mistress right there.
Yeah.
So,
overthrow by 1 mile per hour, and you're so far off target or something like that, and you're jacked to the max. The freaking lights are on you.
You get a little quick, you miss one, and with the adrenaline, you don't feel that you missed it. So now you're making a move off a shot that was a bad shot, and then you go high. Now now you have, if that's your even lane, now the second and fourth frame are both dead. Now you're 5 frames in, you don't have a double. Well, you're bowling Tommy Jones, you're down 20.
Yeah,
you might be down 40.
True.
You're not coming back from that.
And that person has at least a game or two under their belt, so they're that's kind of what I was thinking about. So anyway,
really, the 2 seed is kind of a nice place to be in, but you still have to win that first game.
Yeah, right. That's true. And you're going against someone that's already bowled, so I guess it's
2
always
a pretty nice spot to be in. I don't know. I didn't ever really go back and look. Despite. I made the final match a lot from 2, 3, and 4, but then would lose in the title match. Or I think a lot of my wins are probably from a couple of those spots, probably more than from the lead, to be honest. Just because when I really led a lot of tournaments, I was still trying to dial into what was perfect instead of just going, you know what, I'm good enough at this or this, and just doing something that was aggressive. And once I did that, I had a few shows, the TOC against Charles, I just went, well, I actually liked them to the right better, but I'm like, everybody else is playing left. I'm not getting beat by a bunch of guys just because I played the wrong part. I'm going to play where they play, and I'm just going to be better. And then I won a few times that way. Most of those majors were like that in that little stretch.
It's so crazy when you bring it up because I'm going through your whole career in my brain, and I mean, I was always astonished at how behind it you were. I mean, just especially in like I'm talking like, I mean, it's always been the case, but like that stretch from say like 99 to 07 or 08, it was just remarkable to watch. But we've seen you play all over the lane, and just like everybody always talks about Norm Duke, not saying that you're underrated in this category, but I certainly think that they should talk about it more, that your capabilities across the entire lane are second to none. Do you have a zone or a motion that when you know you've got it, you're like your comfort zone, like the spot, like, oh shit, nobody's beating me from here with this motion?
Not anymore. Your body betrays you at some point. But yeah, I mean, there was a while there where like the short patterns where I could really trap it off those short patterns with more rev rate. And I had a pretty good run until everybody kind of figured out to overshell more and control it that way. You know, now that's morphed into urethane and everything else. And so, you know, I have a torn labor in my hip. I can't tuck my swing in as close as it used to be. And so I've lost a little bit of that ability to really trap it, you know, with ball roll like I used to. And so, you know, I missed that part of it because that used to bail me out of a lot of patterns when they were hard. I could just go roll it in front of me and keep it on line, and my swing was straight enough that I could put enough shots on to kind of be a poor man's Norm, and just try and I could hang around in the U.S. Opens and stuff for a long time, and until something really kind of developed on the lane. So
how do you compensate now for the things that you can't do anymore?
By lane play. You know, when you make tens of thousands of mistakes, you know, you learn eventually, you know, how to see the lane. And it serves me pretty well on the senior tour. You know, in the kids tour, there's still, the field is the field, and they break them down so far left of where I would like them to be that, you know, that's part of what I'm working on this summer already. We got back home from tour trials, and I've been practicing this week. I get to bowl doubles with Ryan and a Longview doubles this weekend, but
nice.
Oh, how awesome! Good luck.
One really, you know, tucking my shoulder back in and not letting it rotate forward to create speed because my leg doesn't work as well as it used to. But adding loft in, which has never been a strength of mine, and if I can get that along with some of the repeatability back up to a level that I think's good, then you know we'll make another run through the tour season and go. But if I can't, then you know there's always going to be people left of me, and it's the majority of the field.
Sure.
And the slower I have to throw it to get to that spot, the worse it makes the front look. Unless I can do some of these other things where I'm adding loft and really being able to tuck it in a little better and get it through a little cleaner with a little softer hand, a little more Prather-like than the way I've, you know, unless you're the highest rev rate, that whole roll hook thing doesn't really work very well right now.
True.
In this era.
How do you feel about urethane then? Is it part of your arsenal, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you try to utilize it more?
Ironically, Stu yells at me all the time that I should be throwing it more often than I do, because I have a little better touch with it. I'll naturally loft it when I'm using it because you have to up hit it to keep up with all the two-handers anyway, and so, and I don't get penalized for hitting it on the up because everything's early with urethane anyway, so it blends that part out. You know, the last
Chris,
few shows I've made actually have been on like dual pattern things where I'm throwing urethane on one of the two lanes.
Yeah.
You know, this is an interesting question that I have, and just humor me here because I remember you throwing the 900 Global Booyah on a couple TV shows.
Yeah.
But I've obviously seen you throw the 78 UIQ.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever saw you throw a pitch black. Were you throwing pitch blacks?
I didn't really throw them much because I had Booyahs that I liked, so I just kept throwing them. At the time, Global was making those pitch blacks anyway. And then then that little interim where after COVID, I didn't make a show there. The weeks I bowled good, we weren't throwing urethane.
Gotcha.
And so the show I made in Colorado, I think I was throwing like an X2 or something. We were throwing. I did throw a pitch black a bunch to make that show, but I was the 4 seed and I was bowling Tang, and I knew it wouldn't last. And if I got through that first game, I think Santu was on that show and something I couldn't survive long enough with urethane, and so I was going to try and get through that match without it. And if I got through without it, then I felt like I had a chance to win. And at 52 years old or whatever I was, then I wasn't there to get a 4th place check. Win one match and lose one. I took my swing at what I thought I could win with, and it looked good for a little while, and then it went away. And I think Santu ended up losing to Dom, I think, in the final there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember.
Santu's coming out party. But, I didn't throw a lot of them. I like the Booyahs. I mean, they were effectively the same ball at the time. And so
it just popped in my head, so I had to ask you. So thanks for clearing that up for me. Rob, did you have something before I keep rambling?
Yeah, we got a couple of questions from the chat here. Jeff Skyers wants to know, are you planning on bowling the regular season, the national tour, or are you going to just bowl the 50 exclusively?
That thing with Ryan being exempt on tour, it put a lot of pressure on me to try and get out there and be good enough next year. And and even though obviously I am way cheering for him to be better than I ever was, but I also want to bowl good enough to hold up my end of the deal too, and help push him. I think I'll be out there in one way or the other, whether it's part-time, full-time yet. Probably depends on how this next couple months go. If I can get some of these new things to a level that I think is acceptable enough to, I don't want to bowl for checks.
Yeah, right.
If I don't feel like I can at least win, if the stars align, then I'm in the wrong place. And so as long as I feel I can still win, I'll give it a go.
Not to mention, can you imagine just bowling Ryan on TV? Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, I'd feel bad beating him. He's trying to win his first title.
Would you though? Would you? Are you being facetious, or
I would feel bad, but there's no way.
Don't say that word, asshole.
That's right.
That's good call.
Pete didn't feel too bad when he beat Haugen, I think it was, when he ain't getting his first one against me.
Well, I don't know. Haugen was his son. I'm not sure.
That was
a little different.
Still, he could have been.
He kind of made him his bitch that day, but it
true, very true.
He did.
Chris, I got to ask you something about this one match that I'm just thinking about. It was you and Hoskins, and it was like probably the biggest mind F ever. And usually we swear. I don't know why I'm not. Where you guys just kept burying it and leaving ring in 10. I don't even know if it was the finals match. I think it was in the finals. And it was just known that you guys were just going to leave 10 pins. It was Steve Hoskins and you, and I think you just kept blasting 10, buried, every shot buried, and everything was a ring 10. And it came down to like a roll off and everything. Or am I making this up? Somebody help me out here.
I remember one show with Chris where he never missed the hole, and I think you rung 6 10 pins. You were wearing a white shirt. I think you were still throwing Brunswick. That's one show that I remember. No matter what he did, he couldn't not ring 10. And
what I remember, but neither
no
Hoskins
messengers in front.
Hoskins, same thing. And I remember
you sound like
he was so calm about throwing that. Hoskins was. He was like, because
figure it out, Och. If it's Hoskins, it can't be any later than say like
just
2000.
99ish.
It can't even be. It can't even be. It's got to be. It's got to be in probably your rookie season, Chris.
Like 01, 02. Yeah, by 01 that we did the exempt tour, and I think 01 or 02 was his last year. So
yeah. So did you bowl? Did you make the show at Danny Jackson's Incredible? I think maybe it was a major. That was a show.
I led the TOC there and lost a couch.
I don't know what show you're thinking of, Och. If you can figure it out,
I'm just curious the mindset.
I don't remember bowling Hoskins very often.
Maybe it was Scroggins.
No, Hoskins, 100% Hoskins. Like he's a short, chubby dude, and
I don't think he would confuse those two bowlers.
Yeah,
I haven't bowled him, but it wasn't for a title, so I probably
maybe it was. And I know it went to a roll off too. So
one benefit of old age, you finally do start to forget some of the bad things. So I don't know.
But I'm telling you,
Good
but
man.
they were both. I mean, you remember Hoskins he was almost a Robert Smith. I mean, obviously not as much,
Well,
but
Hoskins is why I ended up on Brunswick staff.
No shit.
Oh.
Yeah. The year before I came out, Brunswick had this big staff contest thing, and they were bombing them. And then the last swing, Hoskins made like 6 shows with that heat. And Brunswick staff was Hall of Fame central. Your dad, Parker, Albee, Mark Roth, Williams, Randy Peterson, Voss, Walter. I mean, it was every Hall of Famer, but they were all tweeners.
Right.
All of them.
And we had just given Amleto to track.
And they were beating their brains in the last 6-8 weeks, and they didn't end up getting to their goals and all this other stuff. And so Brunswick that next year signed Mike Miller and I. So there was 10 Hall of Famers and Mike Miller and I. So that's how I ended up getting over there. Justin Romick was on that staff then too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was at the time that's how that whole thing happened. And then I got hooked up with Benoit and taught me a bunch of stuff, and it all came together from there.
That's awesome. I actually didn't know that, but now I'm thinking about the Triton Heat and that they like the Virginia Beach, like 97 or whatever year it was, and just
it was 97.
Every week, every week it was Hoskins, Mazza, and Amleto throwing Triton Heats.
Yeah, hook in the lane, and man, they were bowling good.
Yeah. And then every once in a while, Couch would show up throwing that werewolf, that god awful. he made it look great. Don't get me wrong.
It wasn't a werewolf. No chance. That thing was a Turbo X with a werewolf cover.
There you go.
100%. No way.
We have a question from Keegan Tasker, all the way down under in Australia. Good day, mate. He was wanting to know from Chris who your greatest rival was and who gave you the biggest challenge in your career to push you to be the best. That's a great question.
2 different things. And one of them, like I said, Robert Smith was the toughest guy for me to bowl against. Fortunately, he didn't bowl great every week. Because if he did, I'd have had a really tough go of it. Yeah. But when he was good, there wasn't a whole lot I could do about strategy-wise to do anything to him. If we bowled long enough games, we were good. But Maximum Bob was going to be Maximum on TV too. So if he got to me on the show, I hadn't quite figured out the whole stop trying to touch it and just bowl. And so, a couple of times we did bowl on TV, I don't think it worked out very well for me. The guy, Walter was the best player, and Norm I felt like was the best strategic player. And so in matches and those kind of things, and I found it funny as you're going through that highlight because you don't remember exactly who, but it was. I beat Tommy Jones like 3 times for a title. I beat Mika 2 or 3 times. I beat Norm a couple of times. I beat Walter a couple of times. Like my record against those guys actually was really good, and those were the matches I loved the most. I only bowled on TV with Pete, I think, twice, and neither time was for a title. I beat him both times, but our roles were so different. We just didn't make shows together hardly at all. And but I love bowling the guys who were the best, especially the guys because I didn't start till I was 28. So I watched all these guys bowl on TV, and they were incredible. I was getting a house spot every once in a while, and they'd kick my teeth in when I bowled, that week, and I didn't have any fallacies about if I went on tour, I'll dominate these guys.
Right.
Nope, that's not how it works.
So you mentioned getting in at 28. Let's dive back just a little bit further. What age did you start bowling, and what or who got you into the sport?
My dad got me into it. Basketball and bowling were the 2 things that he loved the most, and that passed along to me early on. But I played every sport. I just bowled on Saturday mornings. I started at 7, I guess it was. And but basically, I was more or less 3 games every once in a while in the summer. My mom ended up working as doing the books at the bowling center, so I got to bowl a little bit more. Maybe got up to 6 games, or every once in a while, all the way up to 10 a week. But I didn't really bowl that much until I was out of high school. And a lot like Ryan, I wanted to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
We won a state title when I was in high school, and I thought I was all right. And I started doing some, a little different world then. There wasn't, rankings and everything else. And it became obvious I was more of a D2 type guy, and I walked onto some of these places, and D2 is kind of the land of misshapen players, either too short, too fat, too slow, or whatever. And they're playing in front of crowds that were smaller than what I played in front of in high school. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to Lindsborg, Kansas, play basketball for 4 years. Yeah, I mean,
Making a park this family bus on the road.
Yeah, hey, what's the crowd look like? And they pulled out the 4 sets of bleachers, and
I mean, I played NAIA hockey, so that's like below grammar school.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, we'd be playing at 11 p.m. at night, and we got 4 people.
You're playing in front of tens of family.
5s of people.
Yeah.
And so I never say that. I always say, "Oh, I played hockey in college." Oh, really? And I'm like, "Yeah, that's it. That's all."
You stop there.
Yeah. Don't tell them the
I
rest.
leave it at that.
So then, what?
Some action matches out on out of New York that where I had more people show up than they're going to be at any of those college basketball games. So
smart move. You made
so what match there was it was also louder in those matches than it was.
So between college and when you joined the tour, like what was going on in your life in those years?
I bowled the 4 years. It took me 4.5 to graduate, and at that point, I thought I was going to go on tour, and then I ended up going on Team USA or making Team USA. I spent 1 year. I'm like, because the tour was struggling at the time, it wasn't great. I bowled enough stops to go. All right, the whole Hall of Fame is actually out there right then.
Yeah.
Along with the Brunswick staff, there was also Amleto and Pete and Houston, and I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was the top 24 didn't change much. And when I went bowled these, every once in a while I snuck into one, but they weren't giving it away. And the high rollers were starting to get pretty good for me. And then I made Team USA, and I'm like, well, I'll do this until, I won't make Team USA every year. There's only the top 6 guys, and then I'll go on tour. And then I made it, and I made it, and then I made it. And I made it 5 times, and the 5th time I finally resigned. From there, it was time to find out. Lenny Nicholson had started doing the lanes at the high roller, so I knew my days were numbered out there. By then, I wasn't naive enough to think that I could beat him, the lane man. I knew who could win. Yeah. He didn't want me to. I was on I was on borrowed time, and so that year at the Super Hoinky, which was not a place I bowled all that great at, I was like, I don't have any more. I don't have any goals I'm really trying to accomplish. I'm just trying to grind out money, bowl the action matches, whatever, and just trying to make something. I'm not, the formats aren't really set up for the best players to really win. Every once in a while somebody does, a name player would get through, but these 1-game matches aren't really set up for their equalizer formats.
Yeah.
I'm 27 or 28. It's time to go and find out if you can do it, or if it's time to move on to something else, and I can keep doing this on the weekends.
Right.
And so that's when we went, and I was on Storm staff back then, and they were in a different spot back then.
Right.
Hey, Chris, speaking of the Hoinky, because I remember I only bowled the Hoinky once. It's actually when I was at Morehead State. We took the short drive into Cincinnati, and I remember that Mika won the Hoinky at least once, right? Did he win it twice?
I think it's just once, but
it's just once.
I don't know. You guys might know better than me. I was gone by then.
But I know you guys roomed together on tour for a long time. Have you known Mika as long as the Hoinky?
I knew him. Yeah, I knew him from bowling against Finland.
In Team USA.
So I knew who he was before the guys over here knew who he was. The first time I ever saw him, actually, he bowled Gaines in the first round of the high roller one year. How's that draw? Wow. Back in
Miss you, John Gaines. Hope you're doing well, brother.
93. He is. I just talked to him last week.
That's awesome.
But like 93, and this tall guy, like, he throws it pretty good. Obviously, this is no joke. This isn't a great draw here, and kind of kept tabs on him. Then, of course, I started seeing him on Team USA, and we just get destroyed by Sweden and Finland basically all the time because they built teams and they were together all year after year, might rotate a player or two in, but it was, they were getting the best players. It's like the really good ABC teams back then. There's guys that knew each other and they played together. And we were taking 6 guys that randomly qualified and they were good on that week, and then throw them together and say, "Hey, go," and then go on something completely different and hope it worked out. And it didn't very often.
Rob, I have a couple here, but I don't want to keep stealing. I'm really trying to control myself tonight. So
You mentioned the high roller, and obviously when I think of high roller, I think of Litchie, Mike Lichstein.
Yeah.
I grew up at Bradley Bowl in Connecticut for many years, which is now in it's an entertainment center now. It's not even a full house anymore. Now. It's sad. And I never asked Litchie, why he never tried to go out or whatever happened. Do you have any idea? I mean, the kid was talented. What do you think happened to him?
Well, I think he was really talented, but he also spent enough time out there to know what was waiting for him. Yeah. And you have to like that life. You have to like being on the road.
Yeah.
You have to like living out of a suitcase for 2 months at a time, 3 months at a time sometimes. And that's not for everyone. So I don't know Litch Williams. We never dove into that. Obviously, he was talented. I mean, he was better than PA was back then. Yeah. PA turned himself into the best left-hander on tour.
100%.
Mostly through hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure everybody saw that one coming. But he just outworked everybody. And, Litchie, he would have been a great story of a great personality, but I think he'd been around I don't know how much of it was impacted by his dad running the truck and all that other stuff, and how much being there or not wanting to be there, he would have known what he was walking into, and somewhere along the line he made the choice that wasn't the life he wanted to lead. Yeah. But he made a couple of shows on the double shows and some of that stuff, so talent wasn't really the problem, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost one of those. Sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
I mean, we see that it's a lot of different cases of, call them professional amateurs, if you will. I mean, for a very, very long period of time, Rudy Revs never even considered bowling on tour.
Right.
Never even considered it. And then you got guys like Mike Newman or Dave Gwindon, or you have, Rick Miller, just to name a few of the really sensational, Chris Viali, the really sensational guys who chose not to do the full tour life, whether it's they wanted to not be gone in a suitcase 2 months out of the year, whether they were doing just fine bowling local amateur. I mean, here's another big one, Tim Mack. How long was Tim Mack one of the most well-known bowlers in the world, and he never even bowled on tour?
Yeah, by the time he wanted to, the injury had piled up.
Exactly.
And some of that's liking the life that you lead. I enjoyed going around the world basically for free. We were on the road like 90 days a year. Yeah. I was getting to go around the world. I was getting to bowl high rollers. Most of it was cash. I was making a nice living, and I wasn't banging heads with Houston and Walter and Norm and Pete.
Sure.
No, the amateurs weren't any pushovers with all the guys you named, but there was, 15 of those guys, and then there was. But those guys out there, as it got proved when Newman went out, the other guys went out, they were better.
Yeah.
And it's a different 100%. Skill set. It's one thing to be really good at bowling 2 games and paying another entry fee and bowling 2 more games. But the thing with tour is those 2 games counted. And so you had to find a way to make your floor high enough while keeping the ceiling, because all those guys had the same ceiling too. And it took a while.
It's a big difference if you go 180, 240 and you're 20 over, as opposed to 160, 240, just be even.
Yeah, I had more 300s my rookie year than I had the next 2 years combined.
Wow.
Really?
But the problem was, you shoot I'd shoot 180 and 210, and then I'd shoot 300. Well, I was 90 over. The problem was Walter went 240, 230, 240, and he was still 20 pins ahead of me, and I shot 300 to catch up.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
I had to start looking at the lane different. I had to figure out how to control it better. I had to figure out why that guy with arms and elbows and things flailing around everywhere was beating me by 15 pins a game. Like, it didn't make
a lot of people ask the same question.
Shirt always untucked, I think, on the one side.
because he's literally reaching.
I know, he's like got his armpit in his nose.
Maybe he should have taken up horseshoes.
What always got me about Walter was his left arm, how it was dead north and south, like as he's letting the ball go. Like if you ever watch him freeze frame, this arm is like over here.
Yeah,
I can't even get it where it is.
It's literally like he's pitching a horseshoe, though.
He's
like,
got good
like
external
that's
rotation,
his,
obviously.
That's just his style. Like he
but
must
the
have figured
horseshoe
something
weighs
out.
16 pounds. Yeah,
Of
I mean,
course,
that was
right.
the thing. There's so much more effort involved. It was just, he was ultra. I didn't know until decades later how ultra competitive he was.
Ask Johnny about that. Yeah.
And obviously his eye-hand coordination's off the charts.
Yeah.
But because he doesn't look like an athlete, we tend to think, oh well, he's not that competitive. And it's just.
Well, he's got 40-something titles for a reason too, though. That's
those guys are just good at stuff.
Yeah, no, that's true. True.
Parker doesn't come off as ultra competitive.
Nope.
Or particularly, super athletic either.
Plus, he's so calm, and he's local to me. Like I see him at Home Depot, and he's just such the most calm demeanor. Yet he'll bash your brains in.
He doesn't have red ass in him or anything of that. Even JP, your dad, who could, he's super nice and an ambassador guy, but there's some red ass in there.
100%.
We've all seen it.
100%.
And Parker, you rarely ever see that. And Albie was the silent assassin like that too. My favorite Walter story, I'll try and keep it quick, but we were at Team USA camp, and Walter's like 50 now. And so we start doing all these kind of baseline stats or trying to identify things that make great bowlers great. And so we're doing, high jump and long jump and how many this and flexibility. And one of the things is a 12-minute run and how fast you can run in 12 minutes.
Okay.
Walter shows up. He's got his Velcro shoes on, his cargo shorts, his rope belt from like 1992. This is like 08, 08, 10. I'm like
he's already
40,
doing the old man thing.
I'm still in pretty decent shape at 38 or so. And Tommy and those guys, Tommy and Bill, are next to me in the next two treadmills. So 4 treadmills, and the 4 are running. Tommy, Bill, and I competed at everything. And so we're going. And it makes no sense because none of us run anymore. I play ball with my kid and all that, but I'm not built for this anymore. So it's we're looking over, and as soon as one guy hits it, the other guy hits it, the other guy hits it, and we're looking back and forth, and pretty soon I hear to my right, and I look over like, what's he doing? He probably hasn't run since like 6th grade gym class. It was like the Jimmy Carter getting shape plan or whatever he was on. I mean, what does this guy do? Like,
that's a knock on his age, by the way, folks. That's a knock on his age saying Jimmy Carter. He didn't even go with Reagan. He went with Carter, just to let everybody know. That's
Reagan was my era. Carter, I don't know. Yes, I'm like, this guy's going to – I'm looking at – I'm going, like, look at – what is he doing? And we get down to the end. We're all, 12 minutes. We're not exactly flying, but we're over a mile and a half. And Walter at the end is dead ass sprinting. I don't know how he walked the next couple of days, but it has to be 30 years since the last time he's run for real. And he is dead sprinting, trying to keep up. He wants to win. He wants to beat the 3 of us at this thing at 50 years old. He's got a knee brace on, the whole thing. I mean, long white socks, up
to the kneecaps and everything. Were there stripes on the socks?
He looked like my dad. He had everything but the fisherman sandals on with the white socks.
Because my dad had a rope belt, by the way, so that's where I'm getting it from.
I did too when I was in high school, but
you have to.
That's why I went, oh, this guy just
he wants to win.
He just competes. And I've been looking at it because he's kind of this nerdy physics guy, whatever. Yeah, if he'd have been given a better body, he would have been really good at whatever that was too.
Yeah, right.
Because he was gonna outwork.
I'm picturing knowing this is going to happen, and Walter's playing horseshoes, but sprinting back and forth from throwing, and just doing that little 60-foot sprint or something.
If you've ever seen him run off the approach, it's not pretty. It has a little.
He literally when he runs off
kind of thing going on.
When he runs off the approach, he reminds me of the people in the hobby horse. And I'm like, all he needs is that thing to just be doing this with.
Fancy, we're sorry. I hope you're not tonight. Please don't.
But ironically, this is so funny that you mentioned the rope belt and all that, because I was so excited. I got to play golf with Walter Ray for the first time ever. It was me, him, Dad, and Robert Lawrence playing at Dave Sutar's outing in Vegas. I want to say we're at like Mountain Falls or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm scared shitless because I'm a good golfer, but a lot of times I'll go out and play golf and my first tee shot or my first hole, especially if I'm not on the range, is kind of messy, you know? But here we go. Sure enough, we're on the first tee. I hit a really, really good drive, so I'm already happy. Walter is probably 10 yards behind me, but when Walter gets to the tee box, he's wearing one of those Steve Irwin hats, and it's brown. So, like, half the flap is up. It's got the string. He's got some kind of, like the George brand shirt from Kmart with mismatched shorts, and he's wearing Sperry's.
No, maybe he does it on purpose, and it's brilliant. Maybe this is his thing, and it's brilliant.
You got it. He's got Sperry's on, no socks, and his bag looks like he found it in a storage unit that he bought for $20. It has like 4 or 5 clubs in it, and his driver and 3-wood are persimmon.
He probably got it from Goodwill.
And I get up to my
tour, he was playing with Page's clubs.
That's what I mean, dude. I get to my ball, I hit my approach shot, and he's about 10, 15 yards to my right in the fairway. I hit my approach shot. I'm about 150 out, and I stick it about 10 feet left of the stick, and I am so excited. I hit 2 of the best shots of my life. I'm trying to stay composed and be all like cool and shit. And Walter looks over me, he goes, it's about 20 paces too far to the left. And he gets up and he hits his ball. And as he hits his ball, I'm looking at him, I'm like, you fucking asshole. It's like one of the best two of the best shots of my life. Anyway, the other thing he did that day on the golf course was they had the least strokes on the putting green for extra money at the end. Walter would deliberately get the ball as close to the green as he could with his approach or his chip.
Or something like that.
Dude, when I tell you, 18 greens, 16 of them, he was on the fringe, and he one-putted half of them. The other half he made. So obnoxious. I love him.
That's calculated,
obnoxious.
Man. That is calculated. That's why he's
calculated.
got a science background.
And he fucked with me mentally because he shit on me on 2 of my best shots of the day, and they were my 2 best shots of the day.
Did you just shit the bed after that?
And then you went and looked for Rob Law's ball that was over in the right woods.
Yes, it was.
That's where they are.
Almost every single time.
100%.
Oh, Rob.
Tell him about the ping pong story real quick.
He was there.
Oh, you were there, Chris. Never mind, Chris. I'm sorry.
He watched me get my ass handed to me after he taught me how to play table tennis. Don't call it ping pong, Johnny Jr. It's called table tennis.
Who calls it table tennis?
Apparently, that's what it's called.
Oh, my bad.
Walter told me this.
You have to use the correct terminology.
I did watch table tennis at the Olympics.
Tommy's pretty good at ping pong too. So
I played ping pong NAIA, but don't tell anybody.
I was D3. Yeah,
and D3 is like 8 levels above NAIA.
No. Yeah, I went to Wichita State, and we had about 8,000 international students. Intramural ping pong there was borderline Olympic level. I figured out real quick I wasn't good enough to play at any level.
We're holding the freaking ping pong like it's chopsticks. It's not really. I can't do that shit with the 2 fingers.
All right, now I have to know: is there any action in table tennis? Anybody playing action?
When I play, there is.
I used to. I mean, my job with DraftKings. Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Especially, and when I was with Caesars running their quality assurance during the quarantine, the only thing people bet on was Japanese ping pong table.
Well, plus it's also best 2 out of 3 usually, or something like that, or something. It is a little tennis oriented.
And you want to know
just one game, and they don't play to 21. What the fuck is that?
And you want to know the nerve of the table tennis bettors. I don't know if you guys bet or not, but you can do in-game wagering like. At the end of the 8th inning, if it's 8-1 Reds over the Braves, you can bet.
You're minus 5,000 for something, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot what term it is. In game or
live
betting.
Live betting.
Live betting in game.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't do that stuff.
No, of course
these
not.
people would call in and ask us why we didn't have live betting available in table tennis. And I'm like, you guys see how fast the ball's going, right? There's no breaks. You're not going to take 30 seconds to try and throw an in-game wager on the table tennis match. Just whoever gets to 15 or 20, whatever the fucking score is, that's who wins.
Barstool used to do it because
I know
I'm a sick human. I'm a sick human. I'm a sick human.
Yeah, you are. I know, Johnny, you got a couple questions here, but I just have one really
Go.
one left I want to get off. I can't remember what tournament it was, but it was in somebody else's highlight reel that we had on the show recently where
Steve Hoskins.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I was a lot of guys' last win, so I know
That's true.
these.
That's true.
Yeah.
You took your approach and you stopped in line, and you had to go back and restart. Does that ring a bell? Johnny, you probably know as well.
Well, how was the shot?
I've seen Chris balk several times. What are
I
you
had
speaking of?
a little
something
issue
specific?
for a while. I got to such a perfectionist mode for a while that it got hyper.
I don't know which tournament it was, but your next shot, you're out. I don't know if your mind was out of it, but I mean, you just tanked a shot. I don't remember who's bowling against, but I know
You're such
somebody
a
we
dick,
had on.
Rob.
No,
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying, like,
you're a dick.
We had somebody on recently. I'm not sure who beat him. It may have been because of that. I don't know if it was Hagen or who else. But is that not ringing a bell, Johnny? I'm sorry. I'll just
I'll
do my research next time.
My success
honestly,
rate after balks actually was pretty high.
I was
when
going to say,
reset,
I'm
but-
used to seeing Chris strike after he balks. Like, the first thing that popped in my head was, for some reason, when Dave D'Entremont won at, I think it was North Rock on Cheetah, you were in a red fuse shirt and throwing a red fuse, and you balked in the semifinal match, and then you got up and absolutely dead pured the 2 in the 10th. And I distinctly remember Randy saying 90% of the time that Chris stops, he strikes. And I always thought that was kind of the case for Rash for a while too. I always figured if he was going to balk, that he was going to execute because you have time to be perfect. You're like, this is not perfect. And for you, Chris, tell me, like, I saw over the progression of your career, I want to say it was like your third step. You used to be really smooth, quick with 1, 2, 3, and then every once in a while I would see you kind of like hesitate into the third step, almost to allow the swing to get in time. Like, and if you miss that timing step, you know something was going to be off, whether it was
get quick
I
through
get
it.
like from the top.
As my speed got softer, that was a little hesitation step to give it time to get a little lag, to be a little laggier, for lack of a proper term, but basically make myself a little later.
So flip it for me, because in younger years of Brad Angelo, I saw, I mean, he had one of the most pronounced pauses in his first 2 steps, and now it's non-existent. Now I don't see it at all, and he went the other way. And like me, as I'm getting older, I actually need that hesitation step around step 3, whether I'm taking 5 or 6 steps, depending on the day. But if I don't pause, especially with the no thumb, my first initial move is it comes up too quick and it's too steep and it's right into the lane and it's always right at target or inside a target.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trigger for me too, because I got to where I didn't push it away anymore. My push away was always the most troublesome thing. So I basically
You were just letting it fall, basically.
I started my step to, like, my right heel would hit the floors, then that would be my trigger to go ahead and let it drop in. And
interesting.
And what I was trying to do speed wise, but from there on, then I might have a little hesitation through there. At times it got to be a little longer than needed to be also. But most of the time it's pretty organic to the pace I was trying to accomplish throughout the approach. If I had a hesitation, it's because I was trying to throw it slower, almost always, because you basically stop your momentum again and then kind of restart it up.
Interesting.
Chris,
Thanks
I
for
got
sharing
something
that.
real quick. It's a little pre-shot like, and you had mentioned something about again. You got to remember, a lot of us are amateurs, not me, just a lot of us. So I speak for them. You when you're on the approach, you said tuck your shoulder, and I don't know if that I remember you'd always kind of like be square to the target, or you'd always kind of like have a shoulder like waggle almost while you were setting up. Was that part of anything that you were talking about before, or was that just your own pre-shot thing?
No, I'm squaring my hips and my shoulders to my target. I'm presetting my angles of where I was trying to get to. And so when you're looking at it, you're square, but you won't be square when you're 15 feet.
Sure, right.
Closer to it at the foul line. So it was, okay, I'm set up here, I'm lined up, okay, and then it would be.
So, I mean, and
it was automatic move.
Sure.
Now it's just about keeping the shoulder from rolling forward.
Gotcha.
And it's an older, lazier move. And it kind of
whatever keeps you lined up
to create speed, but basically just getting it tucked in here and leaving it there as the ball comes down underneath. So
I mean, again, in golf terms, if you're 2 degrees off, you're only hitting it 30 yards. It's not too far. But if you're 2 degrees off when it's 400 yards, it's way off target. So
yeah, DeChambeau's 2 degrees is different than mine. That's for sure.
Sure, right.
So before Ryan started bowling and before he bowled two-handed, honestly, what did you think of two-handed bowlers? When you saw Belmo and have the success he's had.
I was on the show when Oscu came. I made the U.S. Open in Vegas. Chuck Landy, actually here local in Texas, was two-handed when I first. He's older than me, so by the time I was coming down here to bowl, he was already doing it. He just threw it slow, so nobody cared.
Right.
Like he wasn't scaring anybody. Tony Lambert in Louisville, two-handed left-hander that does throw it amazing, but couldn't really. He couldn't keep everything else together enough to kind of make it to the next level.
Yeah.
Nobody cares until everybody's beating somebody doing it.
Right.
You knew there were some things that were cool about it, but even then, like I saw those guys, but it seemed like there were still limitations. I could still beat Belmo from basically. I felt like I could beat Belmo from anywhere right of third arrow until urethane became a thing. Troop was really good at playing straight. He wasn't good at moving left. The guys that were good, I felt like I was better at them at something. Either repetitions, accuracy, different parts of the lane. There was always someplace, even as good as Belmo was, and and Oscar was fantastic. He actually was more athletically gifted. But I felt like there was a way. But one of those tournaments in Lubbock, we bowl on Saturday, we come back on Sunday, and they're just hard. They're gross. And you're like, this is one of those where you talk about you got to trap it, you got to do all those things. And Simo's just started standing on top of 17, and it looks like he's standing on the peak. He just keeps splitting it right through the peak. He's just throwing it at the pocket and just keeps it in the pocket over and over and over and over. And I'm like, I remember when I used to feel like, I don't know if I could, but in my head, I could do that. And it made me go, man, what am I better at than Simo? Like he can play the gutter, he can play left, he can throw it slow, he can throw it fast, he can loft it, he can,
throw a backup ball.
And now he can win. By then, he'd already won left-handed, throwing a backup ball against Sanders. And I'm like, yeah. And I went back home from that tournament because Ryan would go bowl with me at that point maybe 3 times a year.
Yeah.
He was playing baseball and basketball, and he was doing all this stuff. And there wasn't any leagues. And so, but he would bowl for an hour, and then his thumb would tear up, and then he just bowl two-handed because he could. And I'm like, you can just throw it two-handed now. Keep your thumb in it for spares because I felt like that was the better way to do it at the time.
Yeah.
But just throw it two-handed. And in case you ever decide to actually do this, you're going to have to do it that way if you want to be on the tour moving forward. So
JP Senior actually said that a year ago.
Students and all that, I think, is a big waste of time.
Yeah.
You just got to do what's best. What gives you the best opportunity.
It's funny how the stories are so similar with Ryan because I distinctly remember I hit my growth spurt like from age 12 to 14. I shot up like a beanstalk, and I at the time was a traditional bowler, 2 fingers in the thumb, and like Ryan, no matter what I did with my pitches or anything, I mean I would shred so badly that I couldn't bowl two consecutive days, Chris. And I tried everything. I just have a death grip in the ball, and anytime I would try and make my thumb super snug like yours, the fear of going down the lane with the ball was always worse than like getting it off my hand clean. But regardless of that, when I hit that growth spurt along with the thumb pain, I developed this mega figure 8, like one that made Wes Malotz look straight as an arrow. And one day I want to say I was 14, 13 years old. And at the time I was still throwing 14 pounds and I was practicing with Dad. And I grabbed his 15-pounder because he had bigger fingers at the time. I could dig a little bit past the first crease, and I started bowling no thumb. And he goes, how does that feel? I'm like, it feels kind of like good. It feels kind of normal. Mm-hmm. And he goes, keep doing that. And he goes, your swing is now straight. It's straight as an arrow now. It's straight as an arrow, and you're committing to every single shot at the bottom. He goes, shit, if you want to like learn this, go ahead and do it. And some of my greatest successes as a younger kid was throwing rubber balls, urethane balls, and plastic balls with no thumb. Every JBT I went to, I was in contention. And what's funny about Ryan is, like, I look totally different thumb in, thumb out. But to me, Ryan looks exactly, not only like physically his face, but he looks exactly like you at the start. He looks exactly like young you at the finish, a little bit more hunched over at the front. But the game itself, it just, the balance arm just went from here to here. But everything else is so you to me. It's really, really
It's
cool.
like a batting stance almost. It's almost like everything still looks the same. The batting
his
stance
tempo
could be the
1,
same.
2, and 3 is pretty similar, but he's they played a really high level basketball in high school with all these guys that end up being D1. One of them plays for the Nets now, Jalen Wilson. So he watched tons of film, and so he just took that to bowling. And he started watching Belmo, and then he watched Simon, and then he watched Vi, and he watched Troop, and he would take something from all these guys and go try it. Like, okay, that part fit. Ooh, that didn't fit. This fit. Nope. And he just worked at it. He took that basketball thing and just turned it into bowling. And we know bowlers, there's nobody really making you go do anything. And bowling is largely filled with a bunch of guys that aren't maybe that much sports backgrounds. And so if you go and you start bowling 3 hours a day, you can run by a bunch of people in a hurry because that's not what they've ever done. It's not normal.
Totally agree.
It's asymmetrical. It's literally like if you threw 2 bowling balls at once, you're better balanced. You won't injure yourself as much. Clearly, you can't do it. But it's such an asymmetrical thing because a 16, 15-pound rock is literally on one side of you, and your one half of your body has to completely compensate for all that torque. It's a little similar to golf because of the the swing and the rotation being one-sided. But again, at least underhand is natural. It's the most natural form of throwing a ball. That's why chimps do it. Chimps would be good bowlers. Who knew? You hear it on Straight Up 5. But we were talking to Belmo one time about, and here's what we don't know. The plant foot for people, for one-handers, the shoulder, the knees, like the common injuries, the wrist. And we were talking to Belmo, and I said, the one thing that we don't have is a study on long-term repetitive trauma. It's not trauma, but you're throwing a rock at 16 pounds. You're doing it 1 million times a year. So it adds some miles to you.
You're talking specifically about two-handers, right?
Two-handers now. Two-handers.
Yeah.
Comparison. So we don't know. Now, this is what we're getting into. So I said, I'm sure your elbow hurts, maybe your wrist. He goes, nothing hurts. And I'm like, Jesus. And I'm thinking, maybe it's because it's big muscles. He's a little more hunched. Maybe in time a disc or something. He's like, no, I'm good.
It is a normal diffusion by bowlers in general. They said the same thing about Roth. Well, the power players, what are they going to do when they're –
Yeah.
Well, if you bowl thousands and thousands and thousands of games, it really doesn't matter if you throw it straight or not. You're probably still going to end up that way. One of the things now is we don't bowl that many games. Formats are shorter.
Right.
When I came out, the Roths of the world, by their late 30s, they were done. Their bodies were done.
Yeah.
Parker's at 61, I think, or 60, if I'm not mistaken.
And Walter's thrown more games than anyone on earth. I mean, he had a PBA season where he was 1,300 games.
Yeah.
Of competitive games. No practice. Like, that is a crazy. Now it's 300. I think maybe. I mean, I might be wrong. It might be 450.
It's
DJ
considerably lower.
He didn't miss any cuts.
Right. So that's helping those guys too. So that takes the miles off of them. And
when we went to that best of 7 format, that lengthened Walter's career to 15 years.
I feel like those long formats, though, they also determined who the best athlete was.
They
shot
do.
Maker.
Yeah.
But it turned out if you bowl that best of 7 long enough, it all evened out too.
Yeah, true. Right.
Walter still made 6 shows a year, just like he did the other way. I did the same thing. I had weeks where I led and lost early, and I had weeks where I was 25th, would have been dead, and made the show because once you got me on the same pair, you can repeat better than the other guy, and you can you can beat somebody one-on-one, but with the traffic of what was going on that week, maybe you couldn't have kept up that week. And so in the end, if you bowl any format long enough, especially that, I mean, but it just has to be at least best of 5, and really best of 7 is where it's separated back out to where the same guys are making a 42-game format, we're making it in that best of 7 format.
Yeah, I wish the common fan, sports fan, knew this stuff, and this is what we talk about of like how to the sport. Like they see it, it's on TV. It's an hour and a half. They throw a few shots. I mean, I'm also downplaying how it is, but like they don't see the 45 games that they bowl up until. Whereas golf, we got 4 days in a row, and it's like if the common fan, even the sports fan, could see this, I'm telling you, they'd at least. It piqued their interest and be like, man, these guys just had to bowl a pro-am 4 straight days of how many games, and now they're here with 12 shots for their life.
All of that just screams, I think, boredom in today's world.
But a sports fan can the story. If there's a story, they'll find it. Here's the guy, he's the local tour, pro shop guy, and he's in the tournament. Something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a marathon. You go out, that's. You can think about a marathon. Wow, that's 2 hours straight or 2.5 hours straight. The running's 26 miles.
I don't mean full-time coverage, but like get the story out there. Explain why they're there. Yeah. I get it.
I actually think the Microsoft guys were actually pretty close back then. Just the world wasn't ready yet. We didn't have high-speed internet everywhere. We just weren't ready. I think now, and the smaller tournaments this year, we went half and half of eliminator formats and half of the matches. And the matches, I came back and watched, I wanted to see the matches of Make the Show. Jake Peters trying to upset EJ.
Yep.
The big upset. EJ's the best bowler, and Simo and Belmo bowling these matches against guys, and they're the heavy favorites, but guys are giving them a match. And that was a story. And I think really we're way more set up for that world now.
Yes.
And maybe even a different
what I'm saying.
World. We have more of a tennis type format where it's just 8th, 9th, and 10th frame, game 1.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a tennis thing and you bet, 2 sets and, and those kind of things where you can, but it sets up for the DraftKings world that we live in too.
Right.
Because people can bet on it. We're more popular.
That'll draw interest. That's
Absolutely.
for sure. Look, I've watched the soccer game for about 2 hours that I had $100 on, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was like, why is it more time? I don't get it, but I was into it.
Do any of us know bowlers that aren't degenerate gamblers? I mean,
right. No shit.
I know.
And there is one what Riverboat place in Cincinnati, I think it is, or somewhere around there that actually is the only place that allows gambling on bowling. But I wish
things started. I just but we have to be a little friendlier format wise, and I think that's a format that would set up great for that kind of thing. You have a result and maybe even we shorten it up, a little bit, but. There's certainly
delays don't help that one though.
That's this 20 years ago when they tried it the first time.
Right. And if Bowl TV could have the advertising budget that a lot of these other channels do, I mean, there's a good possibility they'd pick up more viewers because you can watch every shot on Bowl TV. So
unfortunately, I think until the PBA does its own streaming and owns its own YouTube channel and does it for free, I mean, you want more viewers, it's going to have to be free.
True. Yeah.
Chris, how many tournaments were there when you first got out? Ish. I mean,
and
is it
26 my rookie year?
Yeah.
And then once the Microsoft guys took over, it was basically 20.
And it was probably something close to 30 even prior to that, though, wasn't it? 32 maybe?
At the height, maybe there was 30, 35.
I mean they were in winter, fall, and summer, I believe.
You skip over some of the part where some of those weren't, or a little bit like the summer series things were.
Right.
Tournament. It also wasn't televised. Price fund was a little sketchy. So, but
I remember.
It does, don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. So,
of course.
I love the story. I'm telling you, I love the theater. I love the drama. The guy having to throw a turkey just to make the show or to have a chance the next day in qualifying. There's
100%.
It could be. I almost feel like it's there. We just don't know how to broadcast it, really.
Well, we're doing more formats like that. Now instead of the matches used to create that with 30 bonus pins, and there's a little bit of mini drama in there. But now it's, hey, okay, we're going to bowl 6 games, and there's an eliminator cut. So there's something every round. There's not just a bowl and then 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 bowl. And you got this group that's completely out and they're just going through the motions, and this group's trying to make it. And, I think we're set up a little better. And obviously matches do the best job of that because everybody's is an elimination match. And so, yeah, there's some blowouts and all that, but that, EJ showing his dominance or Simo or Belmo or, on the flip side, they'll get swept every once in a while.
Yeah.
And that'll be a story in itself.
Well, like we saw Boog run the table, at the playoffs and beat a murderer's row. I mean, it just
100%.
Yeah, it was great TV. I mean, we had a lot of breakout stars this year on the national tour, which is great to see.
Absolutely. Hope it continues.
So, I mean, you had a pretty good year this year on the PBA 50 tour, but unfortunately, you got guys like Mika and John Janowitz, who is just bowling unconscious the last 2 years.
Tom Hess.
I mean, how cool was it to watch what JJ did, winning Rookie of the Year last year and then Player of the Year this year?
Yeah, super happy for him. It's great.
Yeah, it's obviously well deserved. I knew you were coming. I should have just kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, Jack. No, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, myself, I didn't bowl very well, and it felt like I bowled pretty lousy. And then I got down to the end of the year, and Stu of all people was my hype guy, who's I don't consider that to be a normal role for him. But I got done. He goes, "Well, yeah, you finished out of the top 10 once this year." I went, "Oh." And I look back. I made 6 shows and whatever. I guess it wasn't that bad, but I didn't. The long format tournaments are generally my bread. We bowl enough games. I feel like I should make all of those shows and probably should qualify fairly high. And I was struggling to make them, and I backdoored a couple and didn't miss a couple others. But from the self accountability standpoint, I just didn't repeat nearly as well as I wanted to. I still see the lane fine. I just didn't do a very good job of really taking advantage of it. And, Riviere's been a tough building for me forever. It's not a place, Matt O'Grady made a show there, so you can imagine my bowl roll isn't really ideal. We are on the other end of the world from.
Yes, you are.
So,
yes, you are.
Sean Lavery, guys that loft it and can get around it, tend to bowl a lot better there. And I know that going in, and still I didn't really do much about it, and that's on me. And so I have some things to work on, and obviously there's 3 guys that had significantly better years than I did. JJ was very selfish. He did not share very much. Mika came back, and I talked him into bowling a little more often, and he's like, "Oh, I'm hurt. I'm like, we're all old and hurt. That's how it works."
Right.
And he came out and then makes 8 straight shows. I'm like, "Yeah, go work for your daughter in her candle company, would you?" Just
yeah, right.
And Hess is just literally reborn. He is actually better now than he was at 35, which just doesn't really happen.
If you say you're the reason Troy bowled last year, then you should just stop talking to bowlers and tell them.
I didn't even know who Troy was.
Nobody did. That's what's amazing.
And now I love Troy. He's a great guy.
He really is.
That's all I needed was him out there too, and then I couldn't have made any shows. There's other 4 guys. So, yeah. And he'll be back next year. So if I'm not getting better, I'm not going to have any fun on the 50 tour either.
Right. Well,
this is supposed to be you like chilling out, having to, you guys are slapping 5 and we're having fun. And now it's like, oh man,
it is more relaxed.
I'm still, but still, you're still going to get some bangers, man. Like,
when Doherty's going to come out next year, and that's a guy that everybody's going to, be pissed off about losing to. So,
yeah.
Yes, agree.
That's why I'm eligible, by the way, too. So I'm just saying,
Tommy Jones.
You won't recognize me.
Isn't Tommy Jones eligible next year? Or is it?
I asked him if he wanted to bowl the 50-50 doubles next year. He said he wasn't quite there yet.
Troy is one of
Chris. Close.
Hold on, Johnny. Troy is one of those guys that Johnny mentioned earlier was outstanding regional player, outstanding local bowler, like always had the talent. Never really wanted to go on the national tour, but goes on the 50 tour and kills it. I mean, there's so many stories and so many guys like that that we see later in life have more success, and it's.
It's not really my story to tell, but I think he got his life in order.
Yeah, well, that too.
There's a little Tony Lambert thing. I mean, there's obviously you watch him throw, you go, how have I never come across you before now.
Right.
Like, that's not an accident that you throw it like that and you strike that much. That's not the first time it's ever happened.
Right.
You know, but he got himself sober, and
Yep.
so kudos to him. And not been a fun year for him to not be able to feel that rush on a basically every week basis, and then have to take a year off. But he's holding strong, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing him out there. It is a much more relaxed thing. There's not very many guys bowling for a living.
That's what it is. It's not life or death at this point. Like,
No,
it's
you bowl 'cause
it's
you
not
love
putting groceries on the table right now.
Yeah, I love to bowl, and so I still do it. I don't need to, and a lot of guys are basically they want it life. The guys that bowl for a living are the poor guys on tour, on the 50 tour.
It's true.
The rest of those guys want it life, and now they're just out here getting to follow a passion.
You're on the downside of the roller coaster, basically. You're just riding the rest of the wave out.
It's part of my job with some of those guys. If they ask, I help as much as I can help and shorten the curve so they can enjoy doing what they like to do.
Paying it forward too. That's kind of what it should be.
Are you still as competitive now as you were before?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean I'm going, oh well, I'm sure happy for JJ.
Even we can even tell by that hotel room interview that we did with him that you were super
Been a killer his
him.
whole career. You don't just wake up one day and say, "No, I'm just."
The switch is off.
No, you deal with the losses better.
Sure,
but to a certain extent. But the drive and that's the hardest thing.
How can winning get old?
Really
Winning just can't get old.
I wasn't really competing against other guys anyway. There was guys that inspired me, like Norm and like Walter and Voss and Pete, and but that's I was trying to execute at a better level than I did yesterday.
Yeah,
and so the hardest thing for me out there or anywhere is that I'm competing against the ghost of Christmas past, and I can still remember what it felt like and what I at least in my mind, and I may be delusional, what I could do. And
I ain't as good as I once was.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm not even good once as I ever was.
Ever was.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part is kind of dealing with some of that, not really performing at the level you want to. You're not going to win every time anyway, even on a 52 or even a local events or whatever. But I want to compete I enjoyed the fact that my floor was relatively a little higher than most people was.
Right.
And some days that doesn't feel like it's the case that much anymore.
But like you just said, you were top 10 in how many events? I mean, it wasn't like you were a blip on the radar. You were mixing it up every time, it seemed.
Yeah, it wasn't awful. I was competitive, but I only won once.
And not at and admittedly not at your best, is in your mind,
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if I ever will be at this point.
No, I mean, unless it's something you knew. You said you didn't bowl well, and there wasn't a ... because if that's your limit, that's your limit. I'm not saying it, but only you know that. So there might be you might be at your best again and starting to run these guys over, and they're like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Still
Well, in 15 I had back surgery, and so I came back a little quick. I made some shows and felt like I was fine. I really wasn't. I had lost a lot of strength in that right leg, and that started some habits that have carried through. And since then I've torn a labrum in that right hip, which is the same thing Sherman's been fighting through.
Yep.
At my age, that doesn't heal up so good, and so whether I have surgery or not, I don't really want to. But
did you do a discectomy or something? Or
now I may have to.
Did you have a discectomy in 15? Was it like a little shaving of the? Okay, so you had sciatic pain a little bit, or was it?
I had nothing until I got off the plane in Korea, and I had fire down to my shin for a
No kidding. So you had lightning. So just sitting in that spot, but that's obviously it was there.
Yeah, I
Compression
had
from the
warnings
plane.
a couple of times.
Yeah,
I had
just
to
to tell
withdraw
you.
from the Masters one year. I did the ESPN mobile commercial. Flew out to LA, did this thing, bowled on a sidewalk in 45-degree weather for like 3 or 4 hours. Got back on a plane, went there, picked the ball up off the rack, and
No
blocked.
shit.
I was out
Oh
for
my
about
god.
6
Yeah, that
weeks.
was.
And
Were you having you weren't having loss of function in the leg though, right? Like because you said you got weaker, but probably due to the injury, not so much the loss of nerve.
that one I rehabbed back, and I was good.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while I'd get some pain, and I would just do a lot more core work and get make sure I was taking care of things. It was fine, and then I didn't have any warning on that one. I just got off the plane and I had fired on my right leg, and then I couldn't. Twice during the tournament, I got my ball to the top of the swing, my right foot. I couldn't pick it up.
That's foot drop. That's literally nerve damage. Holy shit! Wow.
I ended up on the lane twice, which is really hard to explain to somebody, in Korean, since I don't know.
You're right. That's the worst spot to be in. You can't even point to like the spot that's going. It's not your foot; it's your back, actually. So like, it's hard to even comprehend.
I didn't know what it was at that point. I'm doing everything trying to just survive. I get home. My wife had scheduled an appointment for me. I end up John Burkett had hooked me up with a guy that did surgeries for. Actually, did Romo surgery, and that's who I went to. And
that's a good guy to know too. A professional pitcher.
Go, hey, what do you think? He goes, well, how long's it been going on? Da, da, da. He goes, well, if we go in next week, I think we have a pretty good chance. I'm like, oh,
wow, let's do it.
Yeah, and I go, well, what are my chances? He goes, well, you wait 6 more weeks. It might heal up. I'd say probably 20-30% chance, but the nerve damage will be permanent by then. If it doesn't come back. And he goes, and if I do it, I would say probably 80% chance you'll be back. Yeah. I was looking
because they were leaving the nerve pressure right then and there. That's just it. And even if you did like traction or something like that, you're still talking 2 months before you absorb all that nuclear material off the nerve. So like and again, I don't think it's a scare tactic. This is still your livelihood. So like, I'll take the 80%
this guy
chance.
dealt with the Rangers and the Cowboys and all these guys, and
I'm sure he kind of knows what he's doing.
I did a little research on him. When he came out of high school, he was a third-ranked prospect out of high school in Louisiana. Number 1 was Elway. Number 2 was Dickerson. He was number 3. He was a linebacker out of Louisiana.
He went to an NAIA school?
Some pretty good company.
Not. He went to USC, and then something happened there because you never see him anywhere else, and he wouldn't talk about it, but he was monstrous. 6'3". He shook your hand. You went,
and has precision hands to
boy.
Like do this.
Like, holy crap! This guy's And
he could have been a bowler. He could have pounded the damn bowling ball.
Yeah.
So, Johnny, was there anything else? I know you had a couple of questions. We've been kind of taking over.
Actually,
I read the medical stuff. That's my jargon. So.
I asked what I wanted to ask, and what I was going to ask, you guys actually tapped on. I was just about to say, do you guys have any other questions for our esteemed guest? And if not, I think it's time for us to finish our business as far as the winners of everything, since we are getting close to that hour 45.
Oh, you got to give your 5-minute warning then, huh?
That's true.
And then I will also say, Chris, thank you for not only spending the hour we asked you, but nearly 2. This has been absolutely an honor, a pleasure, and absolutely awesome. So thank you.
JP, I got to ask you, is that your wife's dog? Is that her choice?
No, that is my ex-girlfriend's gift to me for Christmas 2 years ago.
A bigger wiener?
Yeah, I mean, that is my pride and joy. That is my lady, and she's dead asleep on the couch, and she makes me feel inferior every day.
A bigger wiener always makes me feel inferior too, so I understand.
I don't even know if I can top. I don't even know if it's even worth asking a final question after that. No, I do want to talk about Ryan and the tour trials, and obviously you're very, very proud of him as a father. But
geez, yes, that's right. Congrats.
As a bowler, when people were giving him, maybe not him shit, but just bitching in general when he had the exemption.
The players thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not as a dad, but as a bowler. Were you cool with that?
The thing is, Mookie Betts gets in those tournaments all the time.
Right.
He's not paying a PBA membership either.
Yeah.
And that was the main bitch. The PBA Players Championship, and it's a legit bitch. I'm president of the Players Committee. So early on when this whole thing came out, I said, I'm obviously tied to this thing. I will let you know what information flow I can, but I'll take myself out of the vote or anything, any of these other stuff, because there's no sense me getting emotional about something. I'm going to defend my son, and I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it his way. Right. So I'm out. Very legitimate. It's Players Championship, but there's lots and lots and lots of precedents of people. Basically, those exemptions exist, and whether it's golf or anything else, if the sponsor feels like it's going to bring more butts in the seats, people in the building, press to the event, and then in this case, it actually made a TV show. They have the right to do whatever they want with those, and they always have, and they have always used them that way. So that's ultimately where the answer was that came back, and I think Tom was he knew it was going to be unpopular up front.
Yeah.
Because he didn't put him into the tournament proper like he did a couple other people. He put him in the PTQ, and they had to make their way through. That way it was a story. I think in general, you would have assumed that at least a couple of them would not have made it through. It was my idea. It's all for me. I knew that was going to happen.
Damn it, I can't see it.
Stu's here. He said it's all Chris's fault. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
The beef.
Yeah.
Welcome, beef.
And so, as it turned out, it depends on where you're looking at it, because, of course, the further he went in, the more the players that were upset about it to begin with got more upset.
Sure.
And from Bolero's standpoint, the further he went, the more press he got, and the more it justified the fact that he was there to begin with.
More spectators came through the turnstiles. More.
Absolutely.
You had the whole college was basically there for the show.
Yeah.
He was doing interviews after every round, even when he wasn't, to the show. And so it became, worst case scenario from internal, because it fired up the guys that were already a little triggered anyway. But from the outside, the end certainly justified the means. It's like Moogie shooting 300 at the World Series. He didn't do he didn't do very well the rest of the event. He's obviously not qualified to be in the World Series by most metrics, but that's exactly what an exemption means. And him shooting 300 became a good moment for the PBA. It gets shown over and over and over now when he does an interview, because he loves talking about bowling, and that's a highlight they can grab onto.
That's the main thing. And again, the guy's been in the actual World Series, and then the World Series of bowling shoots at 300. Like this is, and like you said, the butts in the seats, of course. It's such a no-brainer too for something like that.
And as you know, it's all about eyeballs now. So.
And the purists still want it the way it was. I'm sure they do, and I'm sure Belmo even said something. He said, "Well, what happened, guys? Things were so great. Well, what happened? Come on, and he's like, he was like, what happened?" So I'm not trying to start shit. I'm just because now we're saying like, hey, what do we do? How does it get going? And that's one of the ways. And
and so they basically gave the four guys that were on the national championship team the year before those exemptions in the PTQ.
Yeah,
that's kind of the reason for it. It brought people. It brought the college guys there. It brought obviously the parents and the people the surrounding people they bowled league with came out and watched more because of that, and that's the justification for it. It ended up working out.
Maybe the bitching was good because it did start to spark the conversation too. I'm not downplaying either side. I just it's almost like whatever gets you talking,
Well, now he doesn't have to worry about it because
he's good
because of the tour trial. So now he's
and I'm thankful he did, because ironically, if he'd have been able to have his card last year, I think in the 3 terms he bowled, he had enough points to make it.
Right.
But
speaking of tour trials, I got to give a quick shout out to one of my best buddies who also made it out, and that's Chase Nadeau.
Yes.
So I already hit him up personally, but I wanted to congratulate Chase. Just one of the best dudes ever. His whole family, and
he's a great dude.
Yeah, my old PBA doubles partner. We used to work together at the shops out in Vegas. I mean, he's just a good man, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do out there this year.
Dan was out there too. He crossed with Ryan in the morning, and then next week in the afternoon, and we were back and forth, and he was, we were a sounding board for him, and when he needed one, we didn't do anything other than just let him talk through the things. There's a lot of emotion going on. It's in the big scheme of things, it seems like such a small thing because the rest of the tour doesn't necessarily care. They're already exempt.
Right.
But to get on tour is such a huge step. It's a small step, but it's huge because you have to get there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The journey can't start until you're there.
And now you don't have to PGQ anymore, which is
Yeah, and chasing those PTQs around is miserable. It's a terrible way to make a living, and from an international standpoint, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And even domestic, it's just not fair. These guys, the last 3 or 4 years, have been trying to fight their way out there. And there's guys that I thought would do a lot better. I thought Cortez Schenk would do better. I thought Trevor Roberts, Snodgrass bowled great at the end.
Snodgrass, yeah, I was gonna say.
Literally a shot away, and these Dallas Leon guys that have been chasing it around for a while, and is really pulling for those guys to get through there. It was nice to see Chase, who's been super talented for a long time, and kind of make the step. I'm excited for him and see how it goes.
I was happy for Kim Wallaby too, because Kim almost really just said he's going to quit the tour. I mean, he was so distraught this past season that he even thought about just quitting it, and he makes it through. So I'm happy for him too.
Yeah, and maybe this will be the thing that gets him over the top. He's gotten over the top in Asia and Europe, broken through, and then he looks like the guy. He's bold like the guy he looks like, which just looks like somebody who can win.
Right.
And but over here he hasn't quite done that yet, and maybe this will be the springboard he needs to perform like the guy he looks like. I mean, Chris Fye was like that for a while.
Yeah, true.
Looked like Adonis, but didn't bowl that way. And then all of a sudden, he learns to slide, and it's 6 majors out of 7 attempts. It was wild.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, how nervous were you watching Ryan bowl?
I like to say that Linda was more nervous than me, but it's just because I deflect better.
That makes sense.
I treated it like I was bowling, and I was, okay. I really don't impede too much on what he's doing. He knows what he's got going on, but I still was engaged, like I was playing, and I get the freedom to walk around more. So I was picking up on trends, especially 4 centers in 4 days. You're trying to pick up on what this center's asking for as fast as possible, especially that first block, and then help him, with where he's feeling it, and either reinforce it or go, if you're in a 50-50, like now we're seeing more people do this or do this, and try and pick up on that quicker, so that, you're avoiding the pitfall is what you're really trying to do. And, he had a pretty good handle on it, but that's how I basically, I kept myself busy enough and occupied enough that, to try not to be nervous, but I was nervous for him, of course.
Did your thought process coincide with his, or was he kind of more looking to you in the rep for and he was just executing?
No, I find it amazing now for somebody who's really only been bowling 4 years.
Holy
how often that you go, hey, it feels like it's time to ball down a little bit and see, and he'll come back on a fill ball and go grab, he's throwing an idle pearl and goes and grabs a Zen Gold, and you go, huh.
Again, there's an innate intelligence sometimes.
He had a plan of what he wanted to see, and you're like, man, either we're both wrong together,
or he's just so far ahead. That's wild. That's awesome. Really wild.
He sees the lane really well for somebody who's I don't. It's not really young, because experience-wise, the one advantage we may be able to give him is he got to bowl a lot before maybe his talent level matched some of that.
Right. He was just for goofing off purposes, but had like a little bit of a feel. Now he's just
and they weren't goofing off because it's me.
It seems like he's got an innate intelligence about it now too. It seems like there's he's got this. Again, it's the chess move again. It's like it's understanding so well what to do even before it has to be done or something.
He absorbed a lot, and he watched a lot, and he hung out, and he came out and when the advantage of being older. He would come out, and I'd just stand back there and talk about, hey, I saw this, or I felt this. That wasn't a very good shot, so I'm not doing anything on this next one. Or I'm not sure if that was, so I'm just going to move and start getting down the process of how, what you're seeing and what you're doing, and then he could figure out how to apply it to what he does. Obviously, his ball is different, and then he did kind of the same things with Tommy, and he watched those guys, and he started really once he had a background, he started watching what other guys are doing, and he started incorporating those things. So, I big 4 and I moved 2, and he big 4s, and I go, what are you gonna move? And he goes, 5.
I was gonna say 5, 6, 6 maybe.
And he goes, what were you gonna move? 2, and he just scoffs at me. I go, okay. Tommy and Bill were on that plan a long time ago too, so they just laugh at my half board moves, and But, when he's throwing urethane in those, he does half-board moves and does all that minutia stuff that used to be in play. So it's a very interesting mix of kind of thinks like a process-oriented one-hander engineer type, but he can turn it off and just be a two-hander and just go throw a bunch bagger and with no conscience whatsoever and not worry about trying to hit a board, just trying to feed it to the right area, through to the right spot when it's time to do that. And it's a cool thing that I was never able to pull off. I was always very process-oriented the whole time.
But that's wild too. It's like because the shot making is almost a guarantee. Like when an amateur leaves a big four, they're like, "Oh man, I tugged it. I pulled it. I'm off the nose." It's that's how amazing. Like for someone to even differentiate whether there's a bad pitch or the ball ain't right, or you have to make a move. You guys are so dialed in that you threw the ball properly and you got the wrong result, which technically you athletically did the correct thing.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have to organize to the lanes, and that's where no, there's no way any amateur is going to even understand that too, which is unfortunate. But that's such a fun strategy that we can't even appreciate, especially watching you guys do it.
Well, that's what you put all the time in, and that's what made guys like Petraglia
Sure.
Is that he got his execution level to a point where it was never a question.
He never missed it. It was the ball or the spot. Exactly.
Yeah. And his tolerances, he was so accountable because of all that work too, that if it wasn't bad, he didn't make a move off a bad shot.
Right.
He just went, that's a throwaway. And he tossed it away and he went back to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
and you could see it when you actually watch it. That's exactly what he does with it. If he dead yanks one and 2 4-7s, you can actually see him throw it away before the next shot.
Yeah. Oh, Mom. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
And now with lane, at least with lane talk now, we can actually see, ball speed, rev rate, where they hit their last target. I mean, it's really cool technology to see on TV that you can tell, like, wow, he threw it in the same spot and he got different results. So I mean, it's that's something you couldn't see back in the day.
Yeah, you can put people in situations, but it doesn't mean they're absorbing. I found it fascinating while being a fan and super nervous for him, but that first show, how composed he was and how ready he was. Yeah. And he did have a ton of adrenaline, but he was already looking at Specto in between shots when something happened. Like a shot would carry, go a little light. And he would look and, okay, that was faster. Or no, it wasn't faster. That's carry down. Because there's all the urethane being used.
Right.
He was already.
That's very advanced thinking for the young man that he is. Like you said.
He struck on the right lane, would go to the left lane, knew he was super jacked, and had the presence of mind to ask for the re-rack before you do any of your other stuff. And he was already, it was a proud moment for somebody like me who spent a lot of time in preparation. You're like, he was ready for this whole thing. I was a lot of shows in before I was anywhere near that composed.
That's awesome, man.
And as they say, you can't coach that.
No, having a mom as a psychology major isn't a bad thing either. So,
and a legend.
Listened a little bit.
/ legend with a bowling ball.
Yeah, and she could throw it all right too.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, she's in more Hall of Fames than me. It's all right.
He's got great genes for sure.
Yeah, well, Chris, that's a bit of a win-win, but you still got to execute.
It doesn't come with carryover pins. As they say, you're in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, well, all that means is I'm old. It doesn't make me better tomorrow, that's for sure. So,
well, Chris, we appreciate you being here, man. We appreciate you giving us almost 2 hours of your time. We absolutely had a blast talking to you tonight. I'm sure I could speak for the other guys as well. It's just great to pick your brain and to kind of see you in a different light. And we wish you nothing but success going forward on the PBA 50, and as well as your son. We'd love to have him on too. If you want to hook us up with Ryan, we'd like to pick his brain too about being the son of a legend. So thanks for coming on tonight.
I've been called much worse than a son of a legend. Actually,
I wasn't. Well,
just saying. And I'll see you out there. I'm eligible. Damn it.
What's Stu saying here? He's saying having a wife as a psychology major wasn't as useful.
Oh, jeez.
You have to listen.
How do you put up with Stu? I'm telling you.
How does he type in? Does he type in his accent or what? How come we don't hear the accent with him typing?
I can hear the laugh though.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks again, Chris. And check out Chris, obviously, on their show on YouTube, Beef and Barnsey.
And they're going to start having guests, apparently. They have to reformat their show because they...
Yeah, we have guests. Nobody's doing
They're just not nice. They're just not
No.
sweet to them.
No.
Fuck 'em. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to see EJ's highlight reel, check out PBA.com. There's probably there used to be one on there. I don't know.
Holy shit! This is Barnes Unfiltered. I don't know, man. This is
I'm gonna need a copy of that. I need to remember when I was good. I need to re-roll some of that stuff back in.
We try to at least set ourselves apart from the other shows just because we just don't have the talent that you guys have. So,
well,
Rob's got no neck. I have a mask, and we got JP Jr.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're giving away the goods when you say up 5. So we knew you were left-handed. I mean,
that's true. That is true.
Meanwhile, I absolutely love to curve the whole lane. I wish.
Yeah,
I
I know
you're straight up.
You can't even sniff 5.
Well, if it's plastic, yes.
Plastic and rubber, yeah.
Anything else, no chance.
You can't even do it with your dad's ball. That thing hooks too
no,
much. Way too
Hook
much.
at the toe.
Charcoal.
Right gutter, instant.
Yeah.
Chris,
Poor
thank
Tommy
you again,
Hudson.
brother.
What a bad choice.
Oh, Tommy. Why would you go with the plastic? Well, we could dedicate an entire other show to that.
You should do a watch along.
You have to live in a really nice house because Tommy can't pick, wanted a blue ball.
And all Dad wanted was the
just
softest
a
rubber
roast.
possible. And just make it hook.
With some weird Japanese flour in the shit too, right? In the core?
Cherry pit powder.
Cherry pit powder, yeah.
Because cherry pit powder being merged with cork inside rubber is exactly the antidote that was needed.
That was the secret sauce. Who knew?
That was the secret sauce.
Apparently, that guy went to NAIA who went to invent that bowling ball.
Jesus Christ. All right, we're done. All right. Chris, thanks again, buddy.
All right, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Chris, thank you again, bro.
Enjoyed it.
I'm wearing a mask like that next time.
Good. What mask? I don't even know what anybody's talking about.
Have a good night, Chris. Thanks.
I'll be right back. I just have to get Evelyn for the winners. She wants to be here.
Damn.
Okay, bye,
on
Johnny.
that one. Shit. Oh, cripes.
What's the matter with you?
I should have had a little bit more of a freaking peek then. Damn it.
You can just sit. I mean, you just do this the whole time until Johnny gets back. I mean,
I can't.
Oh, I'm back already. I'm back.
I got to get a cardboard cutout or something like that and just have it from like 2 years ago when I was super jacked.
I was gonna say, did we do that one time?
Wait, didn't you do that one time?
No, I just put the head there. I didn't have. And then I got home in time and started talking. You guys were like, I think I heard something. His head's talking.
Donnie Benson says, "Great show, first time watching. Thanks, Beef and Barnsey, for the share. Hey, that's awesome. That's thank
you, guys.
Thank you, Beef and Barnsey, for posting.
We're normally on Wednesdays. This is we make accommodations for apparently Rob, but
just me. Yeah,
Barnsey was good enough to join us too. So,
yes, no, thanks, Donnie, for watching. We hope you come back. We are definitely here every Wednesday night, typically 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Pacific.
It's funny, like he's very again stoic and on TV, which you have to be. I get it. But then like you just like you peel back the curtain and he's like, yeah, I'm super happy for JJ for all those. It's fucking funny as shit.
No, I love that because
I'm sure he's happy. But like, you think he's going home going, boy, I got so good on him.
No, I think he's going home saying he wants to figure out a way to beat the shit out of him.
And that's what he's saying. He's legit saying that.
And that's why, and that's why he is one of the greatest.
So of all time fucking funny. I'm like, and you know, this presence of, I'm sure that people understand that they do think like that, or else they'd never win. You have to think like that. But
there has to be some professional jealousy.
But it's funny that like it just It's just
By the way,
a bunch of idiots talking, and that's what he's thinking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thanks to Adam Miller. That's really, really cool. Thanks for switching over to our channel, and glad you enjoyed the show.
Yes.
We're Adam. By the way, we are. This is a different day and time. We're usually on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. So just if you want to check us out, it's every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Unless a special announcement or a Loverboy concert moves that such said day. So
I think I'm good for the rest of the year so far.
We've literally never done that.
I think that I'm fucking starving right now.
Oh, I know you
would
are.
really like to announce the winners. So
before we do that, though, like, I mean, we always kind of have a little like post game wrap up. Like we always say, like, how fucking cool is that? But like literally, how fucking cool is that?
We don't realize how blessed we are that. I mean, I know that bowling, like the biggest thing that you always hear about is bowling isn't a sport and it's not recognized as a sport. You know, you don't see a bowling ball in the Dick's Sporting Goods logo. They take break dancing into the Olympics before they take bowling. And there's all these reasons why it's a game. It's not a sport. Now we got pins on strings. We got rules of 2 hands, 1 hand back. But the truth of the matter is if you're a bowler or you appreciate the sport of bowling, we have Murderers Row on this show. We have the best of the best every single week, week after week after week. I mean, we just
and they're all freaking cool guys too.
Undoubtedly,
they're just cool ass guys.
We just talked to undoubtedly one of the greatest bowlers ever.
Not
of this gen, just ever. And every single time we talk to one of these guys, we learn something a little bit more about what goes on up here and what translates out there. I mean,
I think he said more than he ever said. I don't think he ever mentioned some of the stuff that
like we always say like, hey, that's a take that we've never heard before. Just like Belmo, just like Simonelli. Like there's always
and you don't hear Chris talking about lefty, righty, 2-handed, 1-handed. He brought up Patrick Allen. What did he say about Patrick Allen?
Outworked everybody.
Harder than anybody.
Outworked.
If you watch, anybody that wants to know what Patrick Allen used to look like throwing the ball, do me a favor. Go on YouTube and type in the 1992 Beaumont doubles. Beaumont. He's actually bowling with Mike Lickstein on that show. It was, I believe, there were 10 guys on that show, and I think they were all lefty. It was a really, really good lefty week.
I remember that.
But just watch Patrick Allen throw the bowling ball on that show, and then go to, say, 2005-06 and start with the U.S. Open, or go to his, at that time, record-setting year of nearly $400,000 in earnings for a single season. And look at the differences in his game, just from start to finish, how he actually is now deciphering and he's dissecting the lane, and he's dissecting his own game to better his chances out there. But having said all that, we are at 2 hours. We've been promising to do the unveiling. So
yes, sir.
First, I'd like to start with, again, we've already, during the course of the show, we did use our random number generator based off the people that have already entered, have already sent in their money for the chances for the raffle, and we have both names. The first one we are going to say right now is the new proud owner of the Storm 3-ball roller with luggage wheels. That son of a bitch turns around on all fours. It's amazing. So,
I've done that too.
Yeah.
Yes, so have I. So, Rob, who is the winner after the 2-week raffling entries?
The winner of the Storm 3-ball Rolling Thunder signature bowling ball bag is. I wish I had I should have had the drum roll in the fucking roadcaster. Anthony Cicchetti. Congratulations, Anthony Cicchetti. You are the winner of the Storm 3-ball Rolling Thunder signature 4-wheel bowling ball bag, the baddest ball bag on the planet, other than Ocho's. Anthony Cicchetti, we appreciate you joining the raffle, and send Johnny your info.
Anthony,
Facebook.
I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before, but congratulations to you and thanks for entering. You can reach out to me directly via Facebook Messenger or any which way you want to get in touch with me. Let us know where this bag
Carrier
is going.
pigeon.
Not carrier pigeon this time. Only Rob's shirt is my carrier pigeon.
Anthony, if you find Rob's neck in that bowling bag, can you just send it back to Rob? He lives in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
you can message me on Facebook and I'll send you my address. Yeah. All right. Again, congratulations, Anthony Cicchetti, the winner of the Storm 3-ball Rolling Thunder signature bowling ball bag.
Congrats, Ant. All right. And now the last order of business is, and again, for everybody who has purchased a shirt, everything starts shipping tomorrow. So starting tomorrow. Now, considering we are right at Labor Day, please allow 10 to 14 business days for your stuff to arrive. Just wanted to say that. So without further ado, the winner of the signed JP autograph card, bowling pin, and bowling ball of their choice from the Brands of Brunswick,
Mark Germandig. Congratulations. You are the winner of the JP Senior signed pick pin.
Let's
and
go.
ball.
Congratulations, Mark. I definitely do know who Mark is. This is fantastic.
I was going to say, we had two names that nobody could pronounce, but at least you know this guy. So.
Except for me, because I'm a pro. So
yeah.
Yes, actually,
Mark Jumanji, congratulations.
One of his children is his daughter. Actually, was a member of the Johnny Petraglia Scholarship League and is turning into quite a bowler herself. And I think that she's maybe entering her senior year of high school or going into college. So I don't know if Mark, you're going to be drilling this ball or who's going to be drilling this ball, but either way, congratulations and thank you to everybody who has contributed and ordered our first shirt. We're looking forward to having several more here in the near future, including some epic ones with Dad's silhouette, as well as some funny ones with maybe the three of us and maybe the good old Illinois State Fair logo, which in case you want to throw it up there, Rob, just for shits and giggles to end the show on a high note. Yes, there it is.
Nothing compares to the fair.
Never-ending, fantastic, amazing logo of the State Fair.
Congratulations!
It's just the greatest.
It is. Mark
Congratulations.
Jermandig. Yes, congratulations,
to Mark
brother.
Jermandig and Anthony Cicchetti on the bag and the Johnny Petraglia prize package. So, and again, thank you so much to everybody else, and thanks for hanging out with us for another 2 hours on this special day, Thursday, rather than our regular Wednesdays. On that note, I'm gonna go make myself a solid 10 p.m. steak right now, and maybe go to the gym.
Ooh, lofty goals.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm going to bed. Guys.
Oh, and Georgie, thanks for the fresh dew.
Oh, did he get? Oh, you're right. Georgie's back.
He got me right in time, man.
I'm sorry, I didn't even notice that. Hey, check out Georgie Shore for badass haircut. Go to Sweet Blends. That's SuiteBlendz.com. Sweet.
He took care of me too, by the way, Georgie. Awesome dude.
Fantastic.
We're good.
Your mask is super shiny today. So I don't have any hair, so there's no point in me going other than just hang out with Georgie because he's a badass dude.
No hair, no neck, and foink everybody.
Guys, we appreciate you being here. As always, we'll be back next week on our normal night of Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Not sure what we're going to do yet, but who cares? We're still going to be here talking bowling, having fun, and giving you the best entertainment in the sport like we always do. Thanks again to Chris Barnes for coming on tonight. Thanks again for everybody participating in the raffle for the bowling ball bag and the pre-order campaign for the t-shirts. If you did not join that pre-order campaign, you still want a t-shirt, you can go to straightup5.com. That's straight up the number 5.com to get yourself a nice t-shirt with our logo you see here in the top right corner and the silhouette of Johnny's throwing a ball on the front. And for you listening on the audio, just picture.
And listen, I may not be a great bowler, but I look beautiful at the foul line. I am very, very handsome at the foul line. It's actually a sexy silhouette.
It really is. And we're going to have more designs coming. We're going to have some pretty good comedic shirts, and we have so many ideas. But if you want our first launching of the t-shirt with our logo on the back, Johnny's sweet face, well, not his face, but his sweet pose, as you see there from Ocho on the front, check out straightup5.com. If you want to send us an email, straightup5podcast@gmail.com. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks again for the support. We'll see you next week on another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Good night.
Well, I was resting my camera on ramen noodles the whole night.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at StraightUp5Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to StraightUp5Podcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Right here on the Rad